ready as I'll ever be here, I guess.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Long Ash Podcast. I'm Chris, and we are bringing back a guest we had about a month or two ago. I know we've had a few episodes where we had like 8 or 9 straight guests. That's the way I enjoy it, bringing on different people. James, Artful James, as Nick used to call you back in the day. You're still artful. But no, our first episode was great. I think a lot of people were able to resonate with a different side of the industry, showcasing your work down there with the boxes. I think this episode is going to be... The first episode was fun because just having to hear your story. This one, I think I put James and myself to the test. We are going to be doing our personal Mount Rushmore cigars. So there's a lot of things to preface it first. First things first. If you don't like our list, complain about it to your other friends. If you want to leave it in the comments, if it's tasteful, maybe I'll accept a comment. I don't know.
I'd love to see some other lists.
Yes, and we would love to see your guys or gals, whoever, top 4 cigars that you love all time. I'm going to start off in terms of the reasoning behind my list. I know you had a different reasoning behind yours. I picked out 4 cigars that I've smoked more than 10 times each of these. Cigars that I have gravitated towards since being in the industry. In February, I'll be in the industry 7 years. I know that's babies. It's baby compared to a lot of other people in terms of manufacturers and just people, on the media side of cigars. And then cigars, to me, that really I could smoke any time of day. Pair it with anything. Maybe cigars I actually bought boxes of because I am in the good fortune of being able to just get cigars handed to me like flyers, so I haven't really bought I've bought a box of each of these cigars on my list at some point. And then, like I said, just some cigars that, I don't know, I always talk about, I always go back to, I recommend to people if they depending on their flavor profile, depending on if they're a newer cigar smoker, if they've been smoking for a while, they just want to try something new. I will say my theme, all of these have Connecticut wrappers, and I feel like the last few months I've been gravitating towards Connecticut more, and I think this is now showing. It's kind of, I'm being able to put like some reason behind why I'm gravitating towards it.
Does that mean Connecticut Shade and Connecticut Broadleaf?
Yes.
Interesting.
All different types. Yes. Connecticut Shade, Connecticut Broadleaf. What was your reasoning behind your list? I know it was tough. I feel like you came out the gate with like 3, and then you've been spending the last week and a half being like, I don't know what my 4th one is, and it's going to be a game time decision. So what was the most difficult part for this list for you?
Boy, I think narrowing it down was really hard for me. Like you said, we have the luxury of being able to try lots of different cigars. And there's just so many great cigars out there. This list could be much longer than 4 cigars, honestly.
I think yesterday you said it could be easily 20.
I think so. And you like cigars for different reasons, whether that's it works with your flavor profile, or you like a specific size. Or maybe you just like the marketing and the branding of certain, cigars. I know that counts a lot for me sometimes, being a designer. I feel like maybe my list won't be polarizing, but I'm sure, it's my opinion, and based on my experience with cigars and everything, these are the but
yeah, I'll tell you, I'll tell the audience too. Like, we had a conversation yesterday where I love Foundation cigars, but I don't know if it's because they're like, I love all of them, not equally, but these cigars were the ones that left a lasting impression. I'm not saying Foundation hasn't. It's just Nick is always coming out with something new and clever where I'm like, oh, I like that. Like, I like it, I guess, at that time. These are just cigars that, like I said, if I'm like, what do I smoke today? What do I want to smoke? It seems like I always think about these 4 if I have them. So, and then I was telling you, I was like, Like I love the Liga Privada #9, but that would probably be on everyone's list, right? So like, and you're like, well, you're not going to do it because it's popular, and I was like, you know what, maybe not, but that doesn't, and that's the thing, it doesn't take away from any other cigar like that we talk about, that we smoke, that we've smoked in the past. Like you just said, its list could have easily been a lot longer than it is. Narrowing it down is the most difficult. But what was, I don't think we got to it, the reasoning, like what was your reasoning or thought process behind creating your list?
I had a really hard time narrowing it down to 4 cigars. I had to come up with like almost like categories, where I sort of each of these sticks kind of fell into a different category. So the way I kind of broke it down was by flavor. So I guess my preference for flavor. I also broke it down by size.
Okay.
I broke it down by like value, and then I also have one. The last category is like by memory. So like something, or like sort of experience. So something that kind of left a lasting impression on me, like while I was smoking the cigar.
I love that. A lot more analytical. I really do like that, because you're kind of hitting on all different facets of like what goes into choosing cigars, right? Do you want to start?
Do I want to start?
If not, I can lead it off. I'll lead it off.
You start us off.
And I'm gonna start with the cigar I'm smoking. And these are like no particular 1 through 4. These are just my top 4.
Okay.
This was the first cigar I ever smoked from Dunbarton. I think an advantage and maybe a disadvantage of coming into the team I was in with Nick and Greg, whose palates were a lot more developed than mine. Mm-hmm. Nick's for sure. Greg, I know, would smoke the Jacob's Ladder, and then he'd be sweating. The 175th, after he smoked it, it's like he's like, I feel like I'm drunk right now. But this is the Mi Querida Tricky Traca. This is the first cigar I ever smoked from Dunbarton. Mm. I probably easily could have had my list be all Dunbarton or all Crown Heads. Like, I will be very honest with that. I think Dunbarton's portfolio is top tier. I mean, there's a cigar there for everyone. You go downstairs, you ask what their favorite Dunbarton is. I think you're going to get a different cigar from everyone. And there's really no wrong answer. Like, if you want a cigar in the morning, the Brûlée is for you. If you want something that's a little bit darker, that has a little more meat on it, I would say the Mi Querida Tricky Traca, as well as like the Umbagog or the Mi Querida Black, which I think became like the Saka Khan. Mm-hmm. But this hails from, I believe, Nicaragua. Connecticut broadleaf wrapper with a Nicaraguan binder, and then filler tobaccos from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. If you've smoked Nicaraguan cigars, maybe not, I don't want to speak for you. I know we kind of started a year or 2 apart. Nicaraguan cigars were always, I smoke an Aganorsa. It's a spice bomb for me. When I first smoked this, I needed to be having chocolate with it and a coffee, just to kind of like, because I was having the cigar sweats, and I was like, this is a lot right now, but I didn't want to look like a bitch in front of Nick and Greg, and they would smoke this a lot on the podcast. I think this was our very first cigar of the year, like our very first top 25 list. This was number 1 that year, 2019, 2020. But I don't, I don't know how else, what else to really say about it. I think it's a cigar for someone who's been smoking for a while. And I know you kind of broke it down by size. I will say this too. Any size of the cigars on my list, like any size that these cigars come in, are just worth a try. Whether it's a Churchill, Robusto, Toro, they're all worth trying them in different sizes. But as I've smoked, I smoked this a lot, like my first year and a half here, and I think it really helped me develop my palate. And then I started, navigating through Dunbarton's portfolio, and I was just amazed by everything. And I think the Brulee is a close second for me, but I always went back to this. Always. I think there's just something about Connecticut broadleaf wrappers where, as you progress in smoking it, it tastes like sweet, like a chocolate bar. So I would say, yeah, this is on my Mount Rushmore.
Who turned you on to that cigar first?
Nick.
Nick did?
Because we were just smoking it a lot. This was before we did the podcast. We would be in meetings and we'd be smoking it, and I was very new. Like I was very new to cigar. When Nick would say, "Oh, this is not this is not your typical father's cigar," or like, "This is not like a my father's cigar," I was like, "Why the hell is he talking about his dad right now?"
Do you find that was a strong cigar for you to sort of start out with as like a beginner?
Yes, yeah, and I didn't know what I was really tasting, and I felt when I was smoking it, my mouth was it was like chewing Big Red, or like a licorice, and that doesn't have the flavor profile of that, but it just, when you cinnamony, like when you're chewing something that has a lot of sweet spice to it, and your mouth kind of gets numb. That's kind of what overtook my palate, and I was kind of like, I don't really know if I like dark cigars, but there was one time where I smoked it to the nub, and I was like, this is an experience I've never had with cigars before.
That's how you know you're enjoying it.
Yeah, yeah. So then, if we're, if there's any, like, if anyone's is like, can you give me some Dunbartons to recommend? I do say the Brulee because most people asking me don't really smoke cigars, but there's a buddy of mine, shout out to Richie, who's becoming a better, like, more equipped, wanting to expand his palate. I recommended this to him, and he was like, this was phenomenal. And he's a Connecticut shade, like, he loves the My Father Connecticut. He loves certain other cigars. I don't want to bring up because they might be on my list. But I told him, like, this is worth a try, and he was like, it wasn't overpowering. And as I smoke it more, I that's how I know I've developed as a cigar smoker, is because this used to put me on the floor, and now I can handle it. So, what's your first cigar?
Well, it's funny that you brought up you started with a Dunbarton, because I also have a Dunbarton on my list. My first cigar on the list is the Sober Mesa Brulee, which you just mentioned.
Sorry.
That's totally okay. I think that there were probably 4 other cigars that were in contention for, like, the Connecticut shade, I guess, category. Mm-hmm. But this one falls under my flavor category. Like you said, I think Dunbarton has a lot of cigars. You could find a cigar in that portfolio, forever, whatever kind of smoker you are. But the Brulee, for me, it's just delicious. You can have it any time of day, with coffee.
Do you enjoy it more in the morning? Or is there a period of day that you enjoy it more, or not really?
I mean, I feel like I lean more in towards like a fuller bodied smoke, but I think when he I think I saw in a press release or something that he blended this, he felt that Connecticut cigars were kind of getting too strong, and there was this kind of push towards doing a lot of, like, this isn't your father's Connecticut, because it's got Nicaraguan in it or something, or it's, has a little more body to it, or strength. But I want to say that I read somewhere that he blended this. He's like, no, this is your grandfather's Connecticut. And he was trying to do something that was a little more akin to stuff that he smoked when he was younger. But the flavors in it are just terrific. It's medium. I mean, mild medium. Like I said, pairs great with coffee.
And that's the sequel to just the Sober Mesa, right?
No, I don't think it's a sequel. I think it's kind of a line extension to the Sober Mesa.
Okay, all right.
I forget what the original one, if it was a Nicaraguan. Forgive me, I don't remember what the blend was for that one.
It looked like this, though. It had a darker wrapper.
Mm-hmm. Blue band, blue and gold band like that. But I remember there was like this controversy with it where people were wondering if it had a sweet tip or not.
Oh God.
And
Yeah.
before that was even a thing, I picked up a few from the humidor next door, and I was sitting outside one evening, and I was having a sober mesa brulee, and I cut the cap, I lit it, and I'm sitting there, and I took a couple draws, and it was funny. I had the same exact thought where I was like, is this? I was getting so much sweetness from it that I was wondering, like, is this a sweetened cigar? I even went so far as like to lick the cap because I was like, is like, does this have something on it?
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that kind of sweetness when I licked it, so I was really confused. I was like, did I eat something just before that had sweetness on my lips? So I don't know. I mean, he could have fooled me. You could have easily thought that was a sweetened cap, and I guess it maybe he said it's not. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
no, he did the STFU sampler. That was like, you have to figure out which one of these
fun
are
jab.
Yeah, which one of these.
I should have tried the sampler because I didn't try it, but it would have been interesting to see like what did it taste like with a sweetened cap. We got the
sampler up here, and I think we tried it, and it basically was like one of them is like actually sweet tipped, and the rest are just natural. And you guys got to figure out now STFU. You know, he always is funny with like the "Now Leave Me the Hell Alone," and he's definitely a character. That's a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who I've been trying to get into cigars for a long time, and I'll say, hey, try this, try that, and there's just really nothing that would ever stick with him. He's like, no, I don't like it. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I was having a really hard time getting him into cigars. And one time we were hanging out, and I opened up my humidor, and I was like, hey, try this, and I pulled out Sober Mesa Brulee. And he's like, oh, I'm kind of hesitant. I don't know. I never tried this brand. But I was like, trust me, try it. So, he cuts it. He lights it. He's sitting there enjoying it. And he's like, you know what? This is good. This is something I could get behind. Like, this is something that fits my palate. So for his birthday, I went and I bought him a box.
Nice.
He keeps them in his humidor now.
Has he gone through the box, or is he kind of savor them?
I think his dad was actually stealing them out of his humidor too. So I think the box is gone now. But
that's great.
That's
funny.
So,
oh man, that's good. I'm interested to see if my next cigar is on your list.
All right, let's hear it.
It's from Altadis, and when I started in 2019, from what Nick told me, kind of on the, I don't know, cusp or precipice of Altadis really finding their identity with newer brands, or
newer brands.
Not newer brands, but not newer brands. Like kind of having a modern twist with some old brands.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
So, like, for example, H. Upmann is a classic brand, but the Hispaniola by Jose Mendez, that was one of my favorite cigars when I first started smoking. This cigar, I only heard of the Cheroot under this brand. Didn't really know much about it. This was released at the 2019 PCA. And when we got a box up here, I probably emptied out that box. I will be honest with you, because there was times where we'd be up here with meetings, and I would always go to it. I still go to it. I've kind of pushed this cigar so much you might think I work for this little brand here. Not little brand, but this. I feel like it's a very. I feel like I use this word very loosely. I use the word underrated loosely. Because I feel like a lot of things that aren't appreciated are underrated, even though, they might, but I think when you kind of look at Altadis's portfolio, you have the big dogs with Monte Cristo, Romeo, H. Upmann, Aging Room, and they're putting out bangers this year like you wouldn't believe. But when this came out in 2019, I recommended this cigar to like 5 people, and they legit, all of them have been like, this is right in my wheelhouse, and it's the Henry Clay Warhawk. I'm sure this was a contender for my flavor category. Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, It's an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper with a broadleaf binder, which at the time I'm like, what? A broadleaf and a binder, and then Honduran filler, and it hails from Honduras. Just I don't know. I think what I love about it is how the box looks, very old timey. At PCA, I didn't get to go that year, but I got to edit all the videos that Greg shot. They had a motorcycle, a helmet, like their showcase for that cigar was just, I don't know. It just connected with me. I'm not a motorcycle guy by any means. I just felt like it was very old school. Reminded me of like the 40s, like the theme of it, you know? I think it pairs well with anything. It pairs well after a meal. It pairs well with coffee. It pairs well with wine. It pairs well with Allagash. I'm shouting that out because during the pandemic, I was outside and I was having an Allagash White and a Henry Clay Warhawk damn near every day to try and get by. And it was a perfect, because Allagash has that little bite to it, and I think it complemented the Henry Clay Warhawk so well. The band itself, I think it's just beautiful next to the wrapper. I think for me, visually, Connecticut wrappers, Connecticut shades specifically, I just grab it. I don't know why. I think they just look beautiful. And this. I knew doing this list. My next three, I knew they were going to be on here. The one that I was fighting with was, I was fighting between the Tricky Traca and actually the Oscar Valadares Wild Hunter. Just because I smoked that cigar so much. But I remember like going back and being like, no, like I had the Tricky Traca a lot. But once I came up with this idea and asked you to do it, I knew Henry Clay was gonna like be on it. It's really one of my favorites. I could probably smoke that cigar every day. I try not to when I'm trying to figure out what to smoke on the podcast or in meetings. Sometimes I'm like, do I really want to do another Warhawk? But I mean, there's times where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna have it, and I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't even. It's undescribable why I love that cigar. It's. I think it's special to me because it's the first cigar I fell in love with. Because I smoked. Endorsement. I smoked what?
That's a big endorsement.
Yeah, no. I'm being honest because I smoked cigars before I started working here and there. I never appreciated them. That cigar, I pushed for it to be on our lists. I pushed to do video. Like I pushed for like review. Like let's do more reviews. Let's have it in photos. Let's really try and feature it. The Warhawk Rebellion, I guess it's sequel. I like, but just the Warhawk itself is, every time I talk with someone from Altadis, I always bring up the Warhawk. I always say, like, I remember when I went to Chicago in August with Altadis, and I was like, you guys have a lot of great stuff coming out this year. In the past few years, I was like, but what made me fall in love with like your guys' brand really was the Monte Cristo White and the Warhawk. And between the Warhawk and the Hispaniola and then the 175th, I was like, and Nick was like, they're really like, they're on a path of like putting out great product now. And I feel like you can tell, I wish I got to kind of come in the industry a little bit sooner to kind of see like their progression, But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say. I know it might not be a lot, for the cigar nerds out there, why I like it, but I think if you haven't tried it, whether you are a new cigar smoker, you've been smoking for 30 years, please like try it. After dinner with a nice glass of wine, in the morning with some coffee. I can't talk enough about it.
Yeah, very approachable cigar. You know me, I'm a huge Connecticut broadleaf guy, and it's interesting that is it Connecticut shade leaf or is it Ecuadorian? Do you know? Ecuadorian Connecticut.
Yeah, and then
that combo just really hits.
And there's that. I feel like you get most of your flavors from the wrapper, from what history says and what other people say, but there's something about them using the broadleaf in the binder.
Yeah, because isn't Henry Clay traditionally like broadleaf wrappers on the outside?
Yeah. And the only other Henry Clay I've had other than the Warhawk and the Warhawk Rebellion was I tried the Cheroots, and that was very sweet. And with broadleaf wrappers, you're going to get a sense of sweetness. Right now with the Mi Querida, I'm not getting into it yet. Like I'm still in the first third. As you get to the second third, you're going to taste that. But the sweetness or the mellow to medium bodiness of the wrapper combined with the broadleaf binder, I felt like it's just you just get a lot of sweetness, and I think that's why it pairs well with, like, you can even say like a Dr. Pepper or a soda. Like it pairs so well with it, and it's not like an overabundance on your taste buds.
Yeah, I always have a few of those in my humidor. I think if I'm like looking for a smoke and I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna smoke, that's always like a nice go-to. It's like reliable, comfortable.
What do you have next on your list?
So next it would be my size category, and this is probably no surprise to you what size that is, but I particularly enjoy the Lancero format for cigars.
Really quickly, did you see? I had a guest on here, Angela, and she does like quick five. She's from the Puros and Music podcast, but she does her thing, quick five.
Okay.
And one of the questions was Robusto or Lancero. And I said, lately, Lanceros.
I saw this clip. I was proud of you.
Which, yes, you should be, because you're like how I'm an advocate for the Warhawk, you're an advocate for like Lanceros. And I remember you told like Nick one time, like, Lanceros are my favorite, and Nick's like, well, yeah, you get the most flavor. I'm like, damn, okay, all right. So you're going by size. So Lancero, when did you fall in love with that size? Did you start smoking it when you like started smoking cigars or working here?
No, it definitely wasn't my first. It wasn't the first size I was introduced with. Probably one of the. There's kind of like a couple standard sizes that most cigars are rolled in, like Toro, Robusto. And I would say those were probably some of the first sizes that I smoked, like Rothschild. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what the first Lancero I ever had was. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that. Maybe next time I'm on, I could, if it comes to me. But I really just enjoy that size. You gotta kind of have the time to enjoy it. They are kind of long, but something about it. I guess just like the ratio of the wrapper to the binder filler. You always get a little bit more of that, the wrapper flavor and whatnot in that size. But the cigar specifically that I like in the Lancero size is the Romacraft Neanderthal. I think this is a limited edition format size, but I have one right here. The Neanderthal line is fun because it has like a flat cap on the back, and that's kind of on all the Vitolas, all the sizes in that line, which is kind of a unique, fun feature.
They're smaller sizes that almost look like a nub. The top is flat. I've never seen that. That's interesting.
I don't know exactly the reasoning behind that, but it's cool. They look unique. And I like this one specifically because I have this Quasar punch, and the smallest punch size on here fits into that flat cap on the Lancero perfectly. And it just, every time you get a nice good draw right through it. Sometimes it could be like using like a straight cut or something on it. Maybe it's a little tricky. You might, be too much.
I was just gonna say, I think it's for Lanceros, it's tough to cut.
Yeah, and it is kind of hard.
Straight cut, definitely I can't do a V cut on a Lancero. I've always butchered it. I do think the first time I really was smoking a Lancero, it was the Belas Artes by AJ Fernandez. I basically took a page out of your book. I got a Lancero. I did a punch cut, and the output from the punch cut was, I was getting so much at once, and I was like, it was a different experience for me. I was like, this is something I've never experienced before. I felt weird smoking a Lancero. I felt like I had to smoke it like a Frenchman, right? or like a cigarette, right?
Yeah, a little smaller, a little daintier.
Yeah, but it takes, like you said, it takes time to smoke them as well.
Yeah, this kind of has a little overlap with my other category for flavor. I like things that are a little more full, so a lot of things with Mexican San Andreas. I'm a huge fan of Connecticut broadleaf or just broadleaf in general. This cigar not only has a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, it also has a Connecticut broadleaf binder. So it also just really hits that sweet spot for me in terms of what I'm looking for. You know, like the cocoa notes, spice, that kind of thing. But interestingly enough, this one also has some Ligero in it, so it's got a little strength.
It's full bodied, right?
It is. I would say it's full body.
I feel like Roma Craft is mainly full bodied cigars, right?
I mean, yeah, Cro-Magnon.
Yeah, the Baca.
Definitely have a lot of full body stuff going on. But it's strong, but I think it also is still balanced. Yeah. Especially in this size. Like I've had some other sizes, but for whatever reason, this size in the Lancero just, I think, hits the sweet spot for me.
It's a great pick. I feel like they're a brand that has loyal fans, but overall doesn't get as much love as they should. Everything I've smoked from them, I've enjoyed. I have not had the Neanderthal and the Lancero, so I think that might have to be my next. I'm off next week, so maybe I could just sit in the backyard and just smoke cigars while.
Yeah, give it a try. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I definitely should. I know I need to smoke more of them. I've really only tried like not only because it's still a handful of cigars. I've had the Neanderthal, I've had the Baca, I've had the Intemperance, the Whiskey Rebellion, or the Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion, and then the Volstead that came out like a year or two ago.
Yeah, well, I had one of those recently. Delicious.
That was really good. So I would need to try more sizes from them.
Yeah, in 2020 I got their craft series, the 2020 limited edition craft series. And I still had a few in my humidor. I smoked one probably a month ago at my brother-in-law's house. And that definitely has some age on it now, I guess being, 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And that thing was delicious.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I got to pull a few more of these out and smoke them. Like, why am I holding on to these?
No, that's great.
But yeah, I bought a box of these. I don't always have the time to sit down and have a Lancero, but most of the time when I'm thinking about having a cigar, that one is always one of the first ones that comes to my mind. Like, I'm gonna have that Neanderthal Lancero.
I feel like that's a cruel point too. Is in this list, in these Mount Rushmore lists, is it's a cigar that you're always going to go back to, right? And your two right now, I feel like we've always talked about, just bullshit, and you've always brought those up. So I think we're off to a really good start. And like I said before in the earlier in this episode, please write your Mount Rushmore in the comments, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to do a little explanation as to why, we're here for it. The next cigar on my Mount Rushmore list is, I believe we do not sell it here anymore. It was another cigar when I first started that really wowed me. I know earlier I said I used the word underrated loosely. I think this gets lost in the shuffle of Crown Heads, because Crown Heads is just, I feel like they're just putting out so much, but they have a good balance of releasing cigars but still letting certain brands live in a certain time, live in a certain time. But this definitely got lost I feel like it got lost in the shuffle. It kind of, this cigar, and I believe like the La Imperiosa, there's fans of those, but I felt like they didn't get the recognition it deserved, and this is just my opinion. But this cigar that, I bought a box of, and I smoked through that box like a little too quickly.
I'm trying to think of what this is before you say. I have something in mind. But
you want to guess?
Is it the Headley Grange?
No, that's a good one. No, it's the La Coalition. Have
That's
you
the
had
Drew
it?
Estate collaboration, right?
Yes. Yeah. Have you had it?
I don't recall ever having one, but I remember seeing the press release for that one, and I'm like, wow, it's a Crown Heads and a Drew Estate collaboration. Like that's a unique kind of
Yeah, two
combination
very
of.
different companies, but still also Jonathan Drew and John Uber, kind of they graced that magazine back in the early 2000s of
Oh,
like
what a cool
new up and
iconic
comers,
picture!
new up and comers like Matt Booth, Pete Johnson.
Did you see the recreation picture?
Yes, yeah. I think Greg took it. I was like, that's what Dion
Shout out to
Giolito from
Greg.
Dion Giolito from Illusione. So it's an interesting collaboration for sure. But that cigar, it was like smoking a chocolate bar. It full like from the jump. From the jump, it was a really, I think it was a 6x52 or a 6x54. So when I first smoked it, it was a little intimidating for me, because it's dark and oily. It has a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, a Sumatra binder.
Why haven't I tried this cigar?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. And then it has, tobaccos from Dominican Republic and Nicaragua for the filler. So it's similar to the Mi Querida, in terms of some tobaccos they use for the filler and the wrapper. This was the first cigar that, I had it in my hand and it was like sticky. And I'm like, I remember asking Nick, are wrappers supposed to be like that? Like,
You
dark
really were
and
getting
oily.
the oily off
Yeah,
the
yeah,
off
very
the wrapper?
oily. And he was like, yeah, no, there's like, he mentioned the one of the, I don't know if it was the Partagas 1845 or the Black Label, where it's sticky. But from the jump with this cigar, you get that instant sweetness. And I remember smoking it with Greg, and we were both like, it's like smoking like a chocolate bar right now. And it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't. Like I said, when I first, and I hate to admit it, but when I first started smoking cigars, I was very weary of what to smoke. I didn't want to smoke anything strong on camera in case if I start sweating or puke, or didn't really want to like try anything that was stronger in front of people. I kind of did a lot of like my experimentations of cigars by myself. So if I didn't like it, I could just be like, all right, it's not for me. But this cigar, you probably could have picked any. For me, I could have picked any cigar in the Crown Heads portfolio. But this one, I don't know why I gravitate towards it so much. The band is like red and gold. The box is beautiful. We've had that. We don't have it anymore in here, but we had the La Collection in here, man, for 5-6 years, just letting it age and letting it sit.
You still have a few? I'll swap you.
I think I have some at home, and I got to bring in my humidor tomorrow, so we don't have to swap it. I think I have a few home, and I definitely want you to try it. It's just, like I said, I think it gets lost in the shuffle or in the mix of Crown Heads.
Was this a limited release?
Yes, yeah,
Limited
it was a
production?
limited release. You can still buy it online. I looked it up. We just don't have it at JR Cigars. You can still buy them online though. They're still floating out there in the atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's a cigar that introduced me to Crown Heads. That one. And Headley Grange, and I think I gravitated towards Headley Grange because it was influenced by Led Zeppelin, and I love Led Zeppelin's one of my favorite bands. And they start Jericho Hill, is also like I think a Johnny Cash. So the little things like that I started gravitating more towards because I was like, all right, the Crown Head CHC Series E. That's influenced by Van Halen.
Yep. I mean, yeah, look at the packaging.
Yeah, the packaging is Eddie Van Halen's guitar. So it's you get a lot of different, and I don't think Crown Heads is for everybody, and that's not a slight on them. Because I've tried giving people, my dad, my father-in-law, some of my friends, some Crown Heads, and it just wasn't for them. And I think they want to stick more towards Arturo Fuentes, Monte Cristos, tried giving them like the Umbagog. They just weren't feeling it. And I think Crowned Heads is this is strictly an opinion. I think John Uber does create these cigars for people who have been smoking for quite some time, because there's not really a lot of there's not a lot of cigars there that are, are there? Do they do any really Connecticut wrap cigars or Connecticut shade?
They did the Luminosa.
The Luminosa, yeah.
But
I would say
that's discontinued.
Yes, I would say that. I think the Mil Diaz is for everybody in terms of price, in terms of blend. The La Vereda, maybe not for people who don't want to spend so much on a cigar per stick, but it's still the profile of it still tastes amazing. But the La Coalición, I don't know. There was something about it. I remember they were recording a podcast with Miguel Chodel, like one of our first episodes. And I was sitting behind camera smoking it, and I was just like, what is this? What are they all about? So that's my third cigar on my Mount Rushmore.
Very nice. Yeah. Crowned Heads is great. I like their, they always have a great kind of story or a reason sort of behind some of the launches and different things. From Mil Diaz, which, translate, what is it, 1,000 days?
Yep. Yeah.
To some of the things like you said where they're kind of musically inspired. It's kind of fun how they tie all these different brands in.
John Uber might laugh at me if he sees this clip because he seemed like very intimidating human being.
It's intimidating? You think so?
For me, he seemed like it because when I get around people who know a lot about something, my fear is I'm going to sound like an idiot. And like you just hear, you go on his Instagram and you hear him talk about a specific brand and how just
super knowledgeable.
And when I first met him in 2021, we were sitting around smoking like the Fiat Lux, and we were smoking, I think, the La Patissier before it was a full line. He poured us some whiskey, and we were just sitting and bullshitting. And I was like,
"And how is that intimidating?"
That wasn't good. Like going there, I was like, I can't sound stupid. I'm gonna just be quiet. Or seeing him do interviews with Nick, I'm like, okay, like I don't want to sound stupid in front of him. But you start hearing about, like when he's designing these cigars based off some of your favorite musicians, it's like, well, you have something in common.
Yes.
Right? Like you do. Like and he's in the heart of Nashville. It's the music city capital of the world. And I think he does, he tries to show love to music and that city, and I think he does a great job at that. And I just love how blunt and honest he is. And he does it in a very sophisticated way. Some other people are blunt and honest, and they're kind of like, you could have probably said it a little bit classier, right? But I'm just astonished at how small their team is and how much they're putting out and how much people really, really love, and how he loves to interact with all his fans through social media. The merchandise they have is top notch. So it's more than a cigar company, it's as cheesy or stupid this may sound. It's kind of like Crowned Heads is like a lifestyle, carve your own path. I think that's a great
slogan.
I think it's a great saying, and I think that's kind of what he lives by.
Yeah, I was gonna save this one for the end, but it sounds like we do have a lot of overlap in our lists. Forgive me, because I think I kind of told a little bit of this story last time I was on the podcast. So if you've heard this before, my apologies. But for the new listeners out there or viewers, one of the first cigars that I ever smoked that I was able to recognize flavor notes in and had, pulled out some distinct notes and realized, like, man, cigars don't all taste the same, even though they're all made of, tobacco. This cigar was the Crowned Heads J.D. Howard Reserve. This cigar falls under kind of my memory category, so something that's left a lasting impact on me, like more of an experience in my life.
That's discontinued, right?
I think it is discontinued. Maybe John can correct us if it's not, but I think it is.
Because didn't Jericho Hill not take its place but it was kind of like the same. Like they're both box pressed. Or am I just making shit up now? I'm probably making shit up.
I don't think the the regular production line of JD Howard was box pressed. I want to say, I think it was like the HR52 or something was the one that I smoked. But I want to say it was round. It was is that a Parejo? But anyway, I worked at JR Cigars for probably a couple years before I ever had my first cigar. And doing a lot of marketing and creative. You're always looking at cigars. We're color correcting cigars. Putting them in advertising and stuff. You're making them look pretty. After a while, you're like, man, I should try some of these that kind of know what I'm talking about. So I spoke to one of the product merchants here, Rob, who I was friendly with, and I was like, hey, I want to get into some cigars. Could you kind of, show me the ropes? And he, I knew that he was into cigars and being a product merchant, was very knowledgeable. So he was like, yeah, let's go over to the lounge one day after work. I'll bring some sticks, and we'll do like a little tasting session. So we went over there after work. And he brought over his little travel humidor, and he had a bunch of sticks in there. And I forget really what we started with. I think we had like a Viaje or something to start. And I'm like, okay. We smoked some of it, and I put it down. Then he broke out something else. We were smoking some of that, and they kind of both just tasted the same to me. And this is also really like my first real experience, like sitting down and like having a hand-rolled premium cigar.
And smoking back to back, right?
And smoking back to back. So I really had no frame of reference for like what it should taste like or whatever. So I was kind of coming into this very green. He was like, these aren't doing it for me. He's like, let's go into the humidor and we'll pick something else out. So we went into the humidor and we're walking around for a while. And he's showing me some different brands and things. And we walked over to this one section, and Crown Heads was on the shelf. And he's like, have you ever had the JD Howard Reserve? I said no. So he picked a couple off the shelf, and he picked up a couple more things, and we went back out to the lounge, and he's describing it a little bit, and it was helpful that he was also smoking the same cigar as me, so he could say like, he could kind of ask me some questions or leading questions like, what are you tasting? Like, are you getting this? Are you getting that? So we cut them, we lit them, and we're sitting there. I get, have a few puffs, and without him even prompting me, I was like, wow, I'm tasting something that's like reminiscent of like cinnamon. And right there, it sort of clicked that like, oh, these, every cigar has a different blend.
Yep.
They might all be tobacco, but the wrapper could be from Nicaragua, your binder could be from Honduras, your filler could be mixed. So even though it's, a cigar, like a cigar is a cigar, it's tobacco leaves, there is a lot of nuance in, how the blends kind of make up the flavor profile that you're getting and tasting. And that really just stuck out with me, and it really lit a light bulb in my head, like, oh, they don't all taste the same. And you got to just experiment and try different cigars and kind of really find what you kind of enjoy. And that really kind of lit my passion for that cigar particularly. I went and I got a few more, and I stocked my humidor up. And that was kind of the first ones. I never bought a box, but I did keep a few on hand, and whenever I wasn't sure what I would go for, it's like, oh, let's pull out the JD Howard.
Nice.
So that cigar specifically has always had a special place in my heart, because it's the one I can always reference back to and say, like, it was that one that made me realize, they're all a little different.
Yeah. No, that's when you've told me that story a few times, and I think it's we all had that moment where we're like, okay, they're not all the same. And I think that's another cigar that OG Crown Heads fans are like, yeah, that one was the Las Mareas,
Luminosa, like we said.
Luminosa, yeah, I think those are ones that are like OG Crown Heads fans, like that's what pulled them in. And I love the band for that, like on that cigar. I felt like every time I haven't seen a JD Howard in a while. It just looked like the band and the wrapper just complemented each other. I have had a chance to smoke it once, and I really enjoyed it. But there's not much from Crown Heads I don't enjoy. Honestly, like it was, and they're so different and unique. So I feel like every cigar you're smoking from them, you're getting a different experience every time, even if they're blended at the same factory or using some of the same tobaccos. I think it's kind of a credit to them that they could work with what they have, and each cigar is unique. So we are down to our last cigar, our last spot on Mount Rushmore. Um, this has been difficult. I still feel like I should feel confident about my list, but as I'm going on, I'm like,
You having second
I'm
thoughts?
going to get eviscerated in the comments. But this cigar, um, like I mentioned before we even started this list, I had this cigar once, and I bought a box. Like I smoked it one time, and then I bought a box.
I need more.
And yes, I need more of it. Um, I need to have it in my humidor. It was a box of 25. I went through them like way too quick. Like I said, I went through the La Collection way too quick. I smoked this cigar 2-3 times a day. Went through a box. I was like, shit. Do I have another? Can I get another box? Which I did.
Okay.
And then I kind of savored them a little bit more. We kind of talked about this last week with the news of them breaking off from Drew Estate. I know that Drew Estate was kind of, I don't know if this is the right term, like discontinuing some of the brand's lines under them, and then they kind of like they're doing their own thing now. And it's the Hoya de Nicaragua, Ontario, Connecticut. When I look at Drew Estate, they are in that category, much like Dunbarton, and even Foundation, Crown Heads, where they have so many cigars under their brand name and their portfolio that they have they have the Fat Bottom Betty for people who like sweet tipped cigars. They have the Liga Privada #9, that kind of paved the way for Nick Melillo, the Steve Saka. One of my personal favorites is Nightshade. I know that's a limited edition that we did a collaboration with them on. You have the Herrera Esteli, cigars under Herrera Esteli. You have Undercrown. You have, I know I'm forgetting a bunch. You have I like the Florida Sungrown. You have that. But for me, when it came to Drew Estate, the Hoya de Nicaragua brand was like the Hoya Black, Hoya Silver, the original Antonio. The Antonio, I don't know if it's the Antonio Nicaragua. Is that what that is?
The original one?
Yeah.
I think it's just
the
I think it was
Antonio,
rebranded.
right?
Yeah, just Antonio. I think maybe they add the original sometimes at the end as a signifier.
But the Ontario, Connecticut, man, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't get much better than this type of cigar. Like the Henry Clay Warhawk, it has an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, and then the binder and filler are Nicaraguan tobaccos, Nicaraguan leaves. I think the red band on the Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper, I think they complement each other very well. The box is beautiful. It's a 25 count box. I'm pretty sure I got them in a smaller size, either a Robusto or a Toro. But this was another cigar where it was, for a while, rivaling, I can't speak, in competition with, all right, if I had a gun to my head and Henry Clay Warhawk or Ontario, Connecticut, I would be like, just shoot me. Like I cannot give you an answer. And I don't know why I'm so attracted to that cigar. I think it's another cigar. When I first came into the industry, that I assumed, oh, it's a Connecticut wrapped cigar. It's going to be light. Maybe comparing it to the Monty White, which, at the time I was a baby, can't compare those two. They're two completely different cigars. But I'm always craving for more. I haven't, they're all out of my humidor. We don't have any back here.
Gonna have to buy another
Any
box.
chance someone has a Connecticut, Ontario, Connecticut, I jump on it. If someone's like, you want one? Yeah. Like I don't know. It's a cigar that all these cigars on my list, I think, kind of shaped the type of cigar smoker I've become, because I just found a lot of appreciation for these cigars. And I know I keep repeating it or prefacing it. There's more than 4 cigars that have shaped the type of cigar smoker I've become. But these 4 specifically were the reason that I wanted to understand cigars more. I think when you're at a job, you can easily, whatever job it is, if you're working with a job with product, coffee, food, marijuana, you can kind of be like, I'm over it. Like I'm just here to collect a paycheck and do my job, and that's that. But with these specific cigars, they were like, oh, I want to know more. I want to learn more about this craft and what I'm selling, or I'm helping sell. And no, it was a man. I never really smoked in my car. Really don't now, but there was a few road trips I was on. I would bring this cigar with me and I'd smoke.
You broke the rule for that one, huh?
Yeah. Any chance I got, like if I'm outside, if I was at a park, if I was swimming, it was a cigar that was perfect for any occasion. There's, I love the Tricky Traca. But for me, there's a time and a place to smoke it, in my opinion. The Ontario, Connecticut, it was whenever, wherever. Have one with me, like I would give them out, like, have one with me, share one with me, because I just loved it so much. And it's kind of interesting to see them kind of veer off from Drew Estate, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do. I don't even know how, but I would like if they did another version of it. I don't know what they would do. I don't think you got to touch it, but I would like to see if they wanted to do a different size or an exclusive size. But it's one of my all-time favorites.
It's a great smoke, and that one was also narrowly beat out by the Brûlée on my list, believe it or not. That, and I also really like the Hoya Numero Uno.
Yes.
Really delicious cigar. A little more limited.
I think Hoya I have not had a bad cigar from them. The Numero Uno is really good.
Yeah, one of the first boxes I ever got was the Antonio in the original in the Grand Console size. Short, powerful.
Yeah.
One of the original like powerhouse full body smokes, I feel like, or maybe in that era. I don't know. Could be wrong. But yeah, can't go wrong with the Antonio, Connecticut. The last cigar that I have on my list is actually the one that I'm smoking here today.
Oh shit!
Which is the Vega Fina 1998.
Wow. I'm shocked. It's a good cigar. I'm not shocked because but I need to hear. And what was the category for this?
This one is actually value.
Value. All right.
I think in an age where a lot of cigars prices are creeping up. Sometimes you just are looking for something just more affordable that you could smoke on a more frequent basis every day. Sometimes it's hard to get your hands on like the Numero Uno all the time, or some of these different limited editions and things. This is one that I find myself going back to a lot, not only for the price but also because of the flavor. The first time I had one of these, I cut it, light it. I was really taken back by the flavor. I almost got like, I don't have the flavor notes written down on my list here, but it was like I almost got like a champagne note from it. Um, Very interesting flavor. I think sometimes the Vega Fina sometimes gets overlooked with everything else that's out on the market, uh,
especially under Altadis.
but tremendous smoke. The we were doing some kind of marketing for the 1998, and we were shooting for, I think it was for social media, and we wanted to have some lifestyle images for one of the pages, and we were doing something for the 1998, and I think it was supposed to be like a specific pairing image or something like that, and I had to cut it and light it, and I think that was the first time I had ever had the 1998, so I cut it and lit it so we could have a nice little ash for the post, and I was sitting there smoking it, and I was like, oh man, this is really delicious. Like just something I had seen before but never had the opportunity to try. And since that moment, I've had it in my humidor. I keep it on hand, and it's one of those things where, like I was saying, when things get a little more expensive, I think it's around $10 for a stick. Just something that's easy to have on hand and have available.
I think $10 a stick in today's market. I don't know. I think I don't want to say it's a steal because I know people want their cigars to be.
You could get some for less,
5 to 10, or 5 to 7 cigar. If you really want a good value cigar, like an HVC Pan Caliente, like Robusto bundle, that's to me your best bang for your buck. But now with Vega Fina coming from Altadis, and most of their cigars are on the more expensive side.
I guess it depends on the
or
line.
average. Yeah, it depends on what you can afford. I think that's definitely a steal, and it's interesting you say like you got champagne notes from that. I always equate that cigar with like a red wine. Like
Interesting.
I've had it one time by itself, and then I had another time with red wine. I was like, oh, this cigar is bringing the best out in the cigar itself and the wine. Like that pairing was just perfect. So I think that's your list is pretty solid. I think and I don't want to say it's everywhere in a bad way. I think how you kind of broke down your list in the different categories is perfect. Yeah, and you kind of hit you hit some of the big manufacturers and even like Roma Craft, which is I don't know if you would say they're more boutique. But even like a smaller company that people may not know about, they're gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, it was really hard to narrow it down to this. I could have had a lot more cigars on here. The categories I broke it down to really just was able to help me narrow it down, and kind of give more parameters, I guess, to my selection. But again, it was really hard. I couldn't. There were a lot of contenders for each category, and I kind of just really broke it down to which ones had a lasting impact on me, and then which one of those cigars then also kind of fell into each of those kind of categories.
But no, I liked it. Was it? Now that you said it, would you do anything different, or was it really that? Like, was it really? Looking back, was it that difficult? You think, or?
It was. I mean, my list was probably like more than 15 cigars long, and I wanted to put a few in each category, and it was hard to even eliminate some.
Yeah.
Or make that decision. Like, no, these are the ones that would be on my Mount Rushmore.
And these are different for every person's gonna have a different Mount Rushmore. The only thing I wish I would have done differently is I wish I just. Maybe I'll start doing just kind of document more what I'm smoking, because I feel like I definitely missed out on some. Maybe I'm not remembering because I have just smoked so much, but these were the cigars that were extremely memorable. So if I didn't remember a cigar, it must not be like in my Mount Rushmore. I wish Mount Rushmore had more than 4 spots on it, just so we could have, we could have more on there. I didn't even want to do like an honorable mention because that would kind of take away from the Mount Rushmore theme of it. But no, these cigars, we'll write them in the excuse me, sorry. We'll write our picks of the cigars in the description of the video. If you guys have any questions, comments about, what we've mentioned, any more questions you may have about it, any other recommendations from any other brands that we mentioned that we may not have tried, please leave in the comments. I want this to be very interactive. I appreciate you coming on again and wanting to come on. It was a lot of very different. It was more, I feel like it was definitely more for the cigar nerds, and it was tough. I'm really shocked that we didn't have any. We had brand crossover, but we didn't have any cigar crossovers. So.
It was close, and like we talked about, there was a couple that I had that definitely could have been. We could have came on and had the same one, which would have been funny.
Yeah,
I know we have a little overlap in our palate.
You were spitballing like which cigars you want on your list, but you never told me which 4 you were going to pick.
No, and then I started being secretive because I didn't want to know what was on your list.
And then because you mentioned the Brulee, I'm like, I don't want to like. And it didn't influence it, but I was like, I don't want to take away from that. It's a really good cigar, but the Tricky Traca for me, oversteps Sober Mesa Brulee and most of the stuff in Dunbarton. Not that it's a bad thing at all, but thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to hearing what your guys' Mount Rushmores are out there. Yeah, I guess let me know what you think of my list.
Yes. Yes, please be kind. But please make sure to, if you haven't already, please follow, like, subscribe our videos, our channels. We're on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We're going to start putting out more videos on all those channels with different reviews and stuff like that. But until next time, I'm Chris.
I'm James.
And thank you guys again for listening.